Mary had a little lamb.
Fourth, we believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon.
I have a dream.
Change has come to America.
Believe me.
Help is on the way.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show. Turn up your mind.
So look, I say this as somebody who a year ago predicted Joe was not going to be the nominee. I'm going to predict that Kamala Harris is not going to be the nominee either. And the reason is if they get one shot, they're going to take their absolute best shot that they can.
Who is it?
That's clearly not Kamala
Who's
Harris.
that?
Clearly not. Well, look, I think there's a lot of open possibilities. I would not write off the possibility that it ends up being Michelle Obama.
What?
She checks off the same identity politic boxes, and it's going to be somebody who's maybe above the fray that doesn't create the same kind of infighting that could debilitate their party.
So Barack,
the reality, Sean,
Barack is the
Serious.
is literally leading the charge, trying to keep his keeping plausible deniability, and then his own wife takes over. What do you call that?
I think you call it realism. Sean, the reality is they're going to take their best shot. They waited till after the RNC convention. That timing is optimal for them because it gets closer and closer to the eventual election. They're going to drag this out, I predict, through the Democratic nomination convention at the DNC in late August. I think Michelle Obama is not off the table.
What table is she on? And how do I dance on it? What is wrong with them? I honestly, they're predicting that Barack Obama was withholding his endorsement of Kamala Harris because Barack Obama was going to nominate or going to endorse his own wife.
Just moments ago, Vice President Kamala Harris picked up the formal endorsement of former President Barack Obama and Michelle Obama as well.
Oh.
Here is the brand new video.
Kamala.
Hello. Hi.
Hey there.
Oh, hi. You're both together. Oh, it's good to hear you both.
I can't have this phone call without saying to my girl Kamala, I am proud of you. This is going to be historic.
We called to say Michelle and I couldn't be prouder to endorse you and to do everything we can to get you through this election and into the Oval Office.
Oh, my goodness. Michelle, Barack, this means so much to me. I'm looking forward to doing this with the two of you, Doug and I both, and getting out there, being on the road. But most of all, I just want to tell you the words you have spoken and the friendship that you have given over all these years mean more than I can express. So thank you both. It means so much. And we're going to have some fun with this too, aren't we?
Yay! They're so bizarre on the they're panicking. They're literally panicking. They're freaking out. They don't know what to do about this. I'm not a poll person. The only day that matters with the polls is election day, and that isn't really a poll. That's us being the jury and passing a verdict on somebody, and in this case, on something. Yeah. This election, as we all know, is going to be about democracy itself and, whether or not it's condemned to the dustbin of history or whether or not it continues. And the only great thing about it is in 100 days, we are the jury. And some of you have early voting, and it won't even be that long. Isn't that special? I am so happy. I can't even stand it. And I'm looking at this New York Times Siena poll. The only reason why I bring it up is because the difference and the trajectory of the numbers is so unbelievable that it deserves a little sentence or so, okay? So prior to Kamala becoming the nominee, well, she's not the nominee yet, but I think we all know where that's headed. What's really interesting is Barack Obama can make an idiot out of, people when he's not even trying. He can make idiots out of Vivek. He can make an idiot out of Donald. He's not even trying. They're not even trying. Okay. But it's just so fascinating. However, the New York Times Siena poll, it had Biden down to Trump by 6 points. It literally had Donald Trump ahead. This is nationally. It's not, the battleground states. It's not the path to 270, which is really all I give a damn about. It's all you should give a damn about. But what's so interesting is that the national polls had Biden down by 6. This same poll now has Trump up by 1. So the gap is closing around Donald Trump's, gappy neck. Wow. It's so that's the only thing, that I thought I'd mention as far as polls. I do look at them. I don't talk about them all that much because, they're never right. They just never are. They don't even agree with each other. So, why do I want to get in the middle of that? If I wanted to get in the middle of not agreeing with each other, I would be a Republican with children, teenagers. Do you know what I'm saying? I think you do. So anyway, look at this news. Look at this news. Not just that. That's, an aside. But the Zoom calls, okay, they are bigger than any rally that the Republican nominee has ever dreamed of having. These freaking Zoom calls are insanely populated. Thousands, tens of thousands. In fact, 100,000+ people. 100,000+. Like I said, I couldn't even imagine 44,000 people on a Zoom call. I mean, it's like, each person was a pixel at that point. It's just like so hard to see anybody's features when you have 44,000 people on a Zoom call. So we know that happened. That was Win with Black Women. They started this thing, and that was on Sunday, and they had 44,000 black women joining a call to galvanize support for Kamala Harris. Well, then we had Win with Black Men, and they did similarly those kinds of numbers. They did about 50,000 people on their phone call. Monday was their day, okay? And then earlier this week, I don't know exactly which day, it doesn't matter. There was a Zoom call for white women for Kamala. 100,000 participants. It got so glitchy that they had to move the whole thing over to the YouTubes. When they moved it over to the YouTubes, 25,000 more people joined. So you had 125,000 people participating online in a freaking phone call. Then they had another one with South Asians for Kamala, okay? And that one was George Takei and Mindy Kaling and Zachary Quinto and Raven Simone and Sophia Bush and Ashlyn Harris, all these people. And then you had the LGBT for Kamala Harris, and that was populated by tens of thousands of people. I'm so sorry, but I just don't turn the camera around, I guess. Donald Trump's always, they don't want to show my crowd. They don't want to turn the camera around. They don't want to turn it around. When you're on the YouTube, there's actually a number of actual attendees. It's right there on the freaking screen. Nobody has to turn anything. They don't have to turn around. They don't have to turn to the right. They don't have to turn upside down. They don't have to turn to their cats. Oh, and this cat lady thing, it's got, I was going to say legs, but that would be 4 legs, right? It's just, wow. It is, you know who has 3 cats, who is inspired by her cats? Who doesn't have any children? Do you know who that might be? Does it ring a bell for anyone in this? Yes, that would be Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift often poses with her freaking cats, okay? She adores her cats. She has no children. And I don't know what's going on with the Republicans. I honestly don't. I mean, Kristi Noem killed a dog. And J.D. Vance is putting down cats as a pet. Kristi Noem also killed a goat. So what is left for us to keep company with as far as another species, which we desire and we love? By the way, cat ladies are not miserable. All the cat ladies I know, sometimes they're bewildered, sometimes they're bewitched by their cats, sometimes they're exasperated, but they're endlessly amused by their cats. Brett's a cat owner, childless cat owner. Are you miserable?
Not at all.
Are you baffled and bewildered and bemused?
Constantly.
You want a friend for life? You want a friend in Washington? What do they say to get? That's right, a dog. And Kristi Noem will shoot it in the head. Make America petless?
Clear. All things Randi at RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
previously agreed upon September 10th debate. He agreed to that previously. Now it appears he's backpedaling, but I'm ready. And I think the voters deserve to see the split screen that exists in this race on a debate stage. And so I'm ready. Let's go.
Let's go, everybody. Let's go. She is ready. She is so ready. The idea that, she's a person who has put Kavanaugh in his place, put Bill Barr in his place, has, questioned people that you would think would be, legal geniuses. And, she's been able to show that they're actually not that smart. When they were questioned by her. I mean, some of the best moments of Kamala Harris were when she was on the Senate Judiciary Committee sitting next to Cory Booker, who always had a very hard time not cracking up. I mean, keeping it together was Cory Booker's full-time job, sitting next to her on the Judiciary Committee. I mean, some of that stuff is so freaking memorable. It's just stunning, truly. I mean, this.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Attorney General Barr, has the President or anyone at the White House ever asked or suggested that you open an investigation of anyone?
I wouldn't.
Yes or no?
Hamana.
Could you repeat that question?
I will repeat it.
Yeah.
Has the President or anyone at the White House ever asked or suggested that you open an investigation of anyone? Yes or no, please, sir?
The President or anybody else?
Seems you would remember something like that and be able to tell us.
Yeah, but I'm trying to grapple with the word suggest. I mean, there have been discussions of matters out there that they have not asked me to open an investigation, but
perhaps they've suggested.
I don't know. I wouldn't say suggest.
Hinted.
I don't know.
Inferred. You don't know. Okay.
Okay. She just, and yesterday she met with Bibi. Yesterday she met with Netanyahu. And of course, she met with Benjamin Netanyahu in her capacity as Vice President of the United States. But the next time, it could be in her capacity as prosecutor. Could be. She gave a statement about, what's going on over there. I mean, Bibi gave this speech, to the joint session. A war criminal, everybody. We hosted a war criminal. The Republicans invited him on into our sacred domed Capitol. The place that they keep trying to defecate in the hallways or burn down to the ground. So now they're inviting war criminals there. I mean, take this out of their hands, please. They denigrate our Capitol every chance they get with their guests, with their tourists that remain between the stanchions. Remember that? Yeah. Their tourists are really unruly, man. Their tourists break windows and, crap in the hallway and carry Confederate flags and, start climbing up the sides of the building. They're tourists. I mean, they should never have their hands near a majority ever again. Ever. Okay? Because they just can't handle it. They cannot handle democracy. They cannot handle being reverent or history or books. They're just not good at it. But, I watch her. I just watch her. And they invited a war criminal. And she actually said yesterday that he is not helping anything. First of all, I had to listen to a speech separate and apart from the show because I couldn't. It wasn't a speech. You know what it was? It was one cliche after another cliche after another cliche after another. I mean, there was no policy there. There was no plan there. It was just him, recounting the horror show that he allowed to happen on October 7th in the southern part of Israel. Remember, all that raping and all that killing and all those children and everything else that he described in that speech yesterday happened on his watch. Oh, yeah, on his watch. And instead of going to his people and answering for the lack of being able to keep them safe, instead of, answering the difficult questions that the people whose children and their mothers and fathers who are still hostage, instead of, handling them and talking to them, he comes over here so Mike Johnson can, just hump his leg or some such thing because, Mike Johnson wants the apocalypse. But Kamala gave a statement. Yeah, God, she is an amazing campaign. She is so, I can't even believe what her week was like, okay? So you realize that this week has been enormous. in the history of the United States. It's been monumental what we have been witness to in just the last 7 days. My God. And she wasted no time at all, okay, none at all, got on the campaign trail. She's been all over this country. She went to Wisconsin. She had like 3,000 people overnight just, come in, listen to her, talk and, say that she was running. And then she went to Indianapolis and talked to the largest sorority group. I think they're called the Divine Nine. Now, you'll have to excuse me if I don't understand sororities and how they're put together and why they're incorporated and the whole 9 yards, because I never went to college, okay? But I am wearing pearls, and I'm going to wear pearls, by the way, for the next 100 days. When you know that tomorrow there will be 100 days. By the time we get back together here on Monday, there will be less than 100 days left before we are the jury and we render our verdict that democracy gets to continue at least for the next 4 years, okay? And that is what we're being called upon to do, render a verdict on whether or not we can keep our republic. Seriously, that is kind of where we are. But she's amazing. So she did all that. Then she went to Houston and addressed the American Federation of Teachers, right? And said, it's just, she's so good. She said, it's just amazing. They want to ban books. We want to ban assault weapons. I was like, that is really the choice. That is really what it is. It truly is. You can't even say cats or dogs because they want to kill all the pets. What are they trying to do? Make hamsters great again? Make make America gerbils again or something. Gerbils, something. I don't know. It's on the tip of my tongue. It'll come to me over the weekend. I'll sit up at 4 o'clock in the morning and go, that's what I wanted to say. But, I mean, it's just like an amazing thing. So she did the teacher, and then she flew back to D.C., okay, at Andrews Air Force Base, challenged Donald Trump to keep his word and debate her on September 10th, which was previously arranged. The Republican Party said, that's why Vivek, I played him early, because their excuse not to meet her at the debate that they have agreed to, do on September 10th on ABC, they said, well, we don't know if she's going to be the nominee. We really don't know. It's something that we can't commit to because wait, what happened to wherever, whenever, whoever? What happened to that, Mr. Trump? You wanted to debate like now. You wanted to debate even more when it was Joe Biden, but now that it's Kamala Harris, who can make mincemeat out of Bill Barr, okay? And Kavanaugh. Now all of a sudden you're scared. Now all of a sudden you're a coward. Now all of a sudden you don't want to debate. And if you do, it has to be only on Fox News. Yeah, that's where they're at right now. They're running scared, baby. And they should, because she's fierce, okay? So then she comes back. She challenges into a debate. And then, in her capacity as Vice President of the United States, she meets with Bibi Netanyahu, next-time prosecutor, at The Hague. That would be good. And then she gives a statement to the press about the Middle East and Gaza. Oh, my God. And then I'm sure she, brought home the bacon, fried it up in a pan, and never let Doug Emhoff forget he's a man. She is awesome. Increíble.
Clear for takeoff. Call in, connect.
Yeah.
To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
I just had a frank and constructive meeting with Prime Minister Netanyahu. I told him that I will always ensure that Israel is able to defend itself, including from Iran and Iran-backed militias such as Hamas and Hezbollah. What has happened in Gaza over the past 9 months is devastating. The images of dead children and desperate, hungry people fleeing for safety, sometimes displaced for the second, third, or fourth time. We cannot look away in the face of these tragedies. We cannot allow ourselves to become numb to the suffering, and I will not be silent. Thanks to the leadership of our President, Joe Biden, there is a deal on the table for a ceasefire and a hostage deal. It is time for this war to end, and end in a way where Israel is secure, all the hostages are released, the suffering of Palestinians in Gaza ends, and the Palestinian people can exercise their right to freedom, dignity, and self-determination. There has been hopeful movement in the talks to secure an agreement on this deal. And as I just told Prime Minister Netanyahu, it is time to get this deal done.
Ha! He'll never do it. Never. First of all, his entire presence as prime minister has been corrupt. Okay, everything that he and when he got caught being, on the take, when he got caught taking a bribe, when his wife got caught taking a bribe. Okay, he decided that the way to deal with that is to dismantle the court. You know, birds of a feather flock together. So guess where Bibi is now? Yeah, he's at Magaloko meeting with, the Trumpian one. I thought we had, I mean, I know this is like so adorable, in my naive little sweet country mouse way to say this, but don't we have a Logan Act that says that if you're not the president, you can't discuss foreign policy with a world leader? I know, it's sweet, right? It's, throwback to, gentler times when democracy actually was a thing and all that. And you could hold people accountable for, the Hatch Act and stuff, like that. Yeah, but now apparently you can go to Magaloko and you can meet with the ex-president of the United States after meeting with the president of the United States and the vice president of the United States as a prime minister of a country, and then go and tell a guy who is not the president what they told you. Jesus. It's so sad and sick what, Trump allows or what he actually encourages in the way of breaking, those cute laws that we have. They were adorable. I know, just very cute. But, yeah, that's what's going on today. That is what, and then he put out a statement through like a third person saying, Kamala Harris is an impediment to peace. What? No, you are an impediment to peace, Bibi. You have always been. You will not allow for a two-state solution, and when you get caught actually cheating and being, a fraud and on the take and somebody who was bribed, what do? You try to dismantle the court system, and people are out on the street. They were out on the street before all this happened. I guess, Bibi was very distracted by this at the time. People were protesting him in Israel at the time for trying to dismantle the Supreme Court, okay? And they were out there, like hundreds of thousands of people were out there night after night after night protesting him. I guess, he took his eye off of the prize of security that he promised that he would, deliver to the people of Israel. And they got attacked. They got attacked in a really brutal fashion. And the way he handled that is vile. He is just, I've been blaming him for everything that's going on there since the beginning. And be like, you can't just blame him. Oh, yes, I can. And apparently I'm not the only one. So, yay, Kamala. I'm very excited. I hope to replace, these are my mother's old beads. They look like pearls, but maybe I'll get to replace them when we have a better economy with real pearls. No, I'm just honestly, I'm so energized. I'm like the little bunny. You know what I mean? Oh, maybe it's we need to have bunnies now. I don't know. They're very anti. Everything that we love. Dogs, cats, even a goat is good. Pets. Children, listen, I didn't do this story yesterday. It was in front of me the whole day. And I chose not to do it because there was so much good stuff going on, and I really wanted to focus on the excitement and and now really, truly, we have the Olympiad tonight. But there was already some sort of an attack. I don't know who, but I'm guessing Russia. Why Russia? Because Russia's not allowed to compete in this Olympiad. In fact, you had a few Russian athletes who, didn't want to, be excluded because they're Olympic level athletes. And so they had to prove to the organizers of the Olympics, they had to prove to the IOC that they did not approve of Russia's aggressive incursion. Well, they're attacking Ukraine. and they had to say that they didn't agree with it, or show that they weren't down with that or whatever in order to compete. Now they compete under no flag, and this is not the first Olympics that Russian athletes have to do this, because he's such a disgusting creature. And this is who Donald Trump wants to align with. People who are so distasteful to the world that even their athletes have to prove that they're not with him in order to be invited to the Olympiad, right? Well, what's really, really disgusting is that this morning, somebody or a group of people or, some organization or organized people, I don't know, decided that they were going to attack the French high-speed rail system. And it was real coordinated. It was all different signaling stations along the rail line in order to keep the athletes who were coming in by train, because, this opening ceremony is supposed to be spectacular. It's different. It's not happening in a venue. It's not happening in a center. It's not happening in a, convention center or in an arena. It's happening on the streets in Paris. And they're using the River Seine, Seine. I don't know, never been to France, as the sort of vehicle to move people. And people are coming in on barges. People are coming in by train. People are walking into, the downtown Paris. And now the athletes who are on the train can't come by train because the train has been disabled. Now, that said, Paris is not that big. Okay, it's New York is not that big either. And I can't even imagine trying to have an opening ceremony on the streets of New York. I mean, what would that even do to the people who are trying to go back and forth, to work, or go back and forth, to the store? I can't even imagine so already there's been some sort of a terrorist attack, right? But I was just so full of goodwill. But, now we have a bad thing. So I'm going to piggyback on the bad thing and tell you something really disgusting about Trump.
This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
Okay, so this is the really disgusting story about Donald Trump that is about to come out. It will be on the bookshelves next week, okay? So Donald Trump had a brother, right? And his brother's name was Fred, and Fred drank himself to death because, Fred Sr. was probably such a lovely guy. Look at his children. I mean, they're some of the most besotted, how do you say, the burdened people I've ever seen in my life. Anyway, so Fred Jr. was Donald Trump's brother. He drank himself to death, but he had children. So he had Fred the Third, okay, Fred Trump the Third. Fred Trump the Third, who is Donald Trump's nephew, has a child, okay? Now, this is so interesting because, we're all supposed to have children now because they love the child. No, they hate the child. They love the fetus. They hate the child. And here's a perfect example of which children they don't want, okay? So he wrote a book. Fred Trump III wrote a book, okay? And this book is called All in the Family, The Trumps and How We Got This Way. Oh, God. Anyway, he talked about when Donald Trump became president. He went to the White House. He requested a meeting at the White House to discuss his son and other children like his son who are severely disabled. Okay. His son has a very rare mutation in one of his genes. Okay. And he requires an enormous amount of care, an enormous amount of help, an enormous amount of, effort in order to just get him dressed and keep him sitting up and feeding him. And it's a heavy lift, right? So Fred the Third asked if he could meet his brother at the White House, meet his uncle at the White House so that they could talk about a group that he was part of called the Committee for People with Intellectual Disabilities, and meet with that group in the Oval Office during the COVID pandemic. Okay, and he was shocked that Donald Trump really didn't know anything about COVID even, and that he was failing miserably and had no respect at all for anybody who was disabled getting COVID. Anyway, he got his meeting. He went in and the chief of staff said, "What are you here for?" And like hurried him on through it. So he got into the Oval Office. And he said Donald Trump, he explained to Donald Trump and this group Committee for People with Intellectual Disabilities explained in this Oval Office meeting during the pandemic that it was very dangerous for people with disabilities and that people with disabilities needed a real active effort by the White House and the Republican Party in order to help people take care of and pay for all of the services that their kids need, on a daily basis. And Donald Trump's answer to his nephew about his disabled son was, quote, "Those people, the shape they're in, all the expenses, maybe those kinds of people should just die." And Fred III was just freaked out. I mean, he was just, wow, he kind of figured that he didn't value human life that much anyway, but to hear him say it out loud was really, stunning for him. And they left. They got absolutely nowhere with him. And then later on, Fred III actually had to call Donald to ask him for money because he needed money to take care of his son. And, he said, "Listen, I just, I can't afford, to do all the things I need to do for him. So could you spot me some, or could you lend me some, or could you front me some, or could you give me some?" And Donald Trump's answer was, quote, "I don't know. He doesn't recognize you. Maybe you should just let him die and move down to Florida." Now, you combine this with Donald Trump mocking a disabled reporter and all the other things we know about Donald Trump's lack of empathy, and his complete apathy for anybody other than Donald Trump is really pretty legendary. So when they talk to you about how they love children, remember that story, okay? Just remember that story. And maybe they're the ones that should have cats and no children. Maybe they're the ones who deserve to be bewildered and baffled and amused by nothing but cats, because they should never, ever come in contact with human children. All right. Donia in Missouri.
Yes, Donia. Yes, I have a couple of things, Randy. The first one is about President Trump. And why is it that President Trump, y'all won't, you're supposed to be free speech TV. And free speech TV, you should be fair to everybody.
No, I'm free. I'm free to speak my mind. That's what free speech is. It's not fair.
Yeah, but what you're doing is you're spreading hate.
No, I'm not spreading hate. I'm telling you who this man is.
You're spreading lies.
No,
I'm not. A lot of stuff you said is lies.
I'm telling you the truth, but that's okay. If you don't want to believe me, it's up to you.
I
it's totally up to you. It's totally up to you. You can believe what I'm saying, or you could look it up if you don't believe me and find out that it's true that way, or you can you can disbelieve me. It's up to you. But I'm free to speak. That's what I've earned here. The ability to speak.
You're free to speak. Hate speech, period. I'm sorry. But it's hate speech
against what? A group?
And Kamala Harris.
Hate speech against what? What group?
Against President Trump.
Yes, I hate President Trump. I hate him. He's a disgusting garbage human being. So, but that's not a group of people.
Kamala Harris. I want to talk about Kamala Harris.
I will let you. I just need for you to understand what hate speech is. Hate speech isn't
I know what it is.
No, you don't. Hate speech is against.
Yes, I do. When you hate somebody and all you do is talk about them bad.
It's not about a person. You are free in this country to hate any person you want to hate. It's when you actually are hating on a group of people who are defined by certain qualities, okay, certain physical qualities or ethnic backgrounds, that's hate speech, okay? I am entitled to despise this man because everything he touches dies. I am entitled to despise this man because this man despises me. I am entitled to say that this man has no respect for human life because he doesn't. But that is not hate speech, Donia.
He loves America.
He doesn't love America. He loves himself.
Ma'am, and Kamala
what has he done
Harris,
for you? What has he done for you?
Oh, well, when he was in office, gas here in Butler, Missouri was $1.38 a gallon.
That's because there was no commerce going on because everybody was locked up in their houses. That was because of COVID. There was no commerce. There was no traveling. Nobody was on an airplane. No, the airplanes weren't even flying, Donia. The reason why there was a low price for gas is because there was no demand for it. And supply and demand being what it is, that's why the price of gas was so low. But you were suffering. We were all suffering. We were all in lockdown or masked up or not able to go indoors to eat a meal at a restaurant. My God, woman, what is wrong with you? And that is why I say he hates human beings. That, he literally didn't want to test us. He didn't want us to get access to testing because if there was more testing, there'd be more cases. He lied to you and said it was just going to go away by Easter in April, he said. 1 million people died on that man's watch. And you're telling me you loved it because gasoline was cheap? You're cheap. You're cheap and your opinion is worth less. If that's what you admire about him, is that there was no demand for gas because we were in the midst of a freaking pandemic where we couldn't move freely about our own country. Wow, that's wow. I don't know. I'm going to chalk it up to you having post-traumatic stress disorder. I don't know how else to describe what you just said to me.
And as far as free speech goes, we're free to tell the truth about Trump, and you're free to come on and call us liars.
Right.
Totally free.
That's totally free. That's what free speech is. And hate speech has nothing to do with, not liking a person based on their behavior towards you. Hate speech is when you decide that a group of people, by virtue of a similar identity or a similar ethnic background or a similar religion or similar content of melanin in their skin, are to be hated and hated on. That's hate speech. And if you can't be clear about it, please don't call me up and accuse me of doing something that I don't do. If you want to call up and say, I'm biased against Donald Trump because I hate him, I will agree with you. I am biased against Donald Trump, and I do despise him. I think he is a trash human being. I think he is a con man. I think he is, what did J.D. Vance call him? A cultural heroine. Yeah, I think he gets people addicted to his bombast and lets you down, chasing the high.
Clear for.
Mary had a little man. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon.
I have a dream.
Change has come to America.
Believe me.
Help is on the way.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show. Turn up your mind.
We're effectively run in this country via the Democrats, via our corporate oligarchs, by a bunch of childless cat ladies who are miserable at their own lives and the choices that they've made, and so they want to make the rest of the country miserable too. And it's just a basic fact. You look at Kamala Harris, Pete Buttigieg, AOC, the entire future of the Democrats is controlled by people without children. They've played their entire lives to win a status game. They're obsessed with their jobs, and they hate normal Americans for choosing family over these ridiculous DC and New York status games. Give votes to all children in this country, but let's give control over those votes to the parents of those children. When you go to the polls in this country as a parent, you should have more power you should have more of an ability to speak your voice in our democratic republic than people who don't have kids. The decline of manufacturing hit male employment much harder than it hit female employment. And one of the things we see consistently is that when men are unemployed, it's very hard for them to maintain, to build families themselves. And so I do think that well, this makes maybe some people uncomfortable in the audience. The fact that we lost a lot of stable male employment was a catastrophe for the American family.
Was that during the Trump COVID period where everybody lost their jobs and ended up on food lines for 6 and 7 hours in your neck of the woods in Appalachia and Kentucky? I remember people sitting there with the oxygen tanks, right, with their portable oxygen that Medicare pays for, some of them Medicaid paid for, sitting in these long-ass lines for a bag of potatoes, because there was absolutely nothing on the grocery shelves. There was nothing in the stores. There was no commerce going on in this country. Nobody could fly anywhere. Nobody could visit anybody. I mean, it was like, it was one of the roughest, longest things I ever experienced in my life. And he's sitting there going, oh, men lost jobs and now, they can't afford their families, is what went on. Bite me. You're such a poser. You're one of these guys that literally promotes getting out of Appalachia by going to the military and then to Yale. I mean, it's just so sick. He's such a creepy guy. Nobody likes him, okay? And this is the problem that the Trump ticket is going to have. I haven't seen such a poorly performing vice presidential pick since Sarah Palin. And, she started out really at the top of the people were so excited from the hockey mom, the pig. What's the difference between a pig and a hockey mom lipstick? Remember that? I mean, people were in love. I remember watching her debut at the Republican National Convention thinking, uh-oh, holy crap, who is this? Who is this person? We're in trouble. She was funny. We thought she was smart. We had no idea that if you took her off the teleprompter, she would actually sit there and, talk about Joe the plumber. We had no idea at that point. But this was their first pitch to the Donias of the world, that they were on your side. This was their first attempt at saying that they understood what your life was like, right? They picked Sarah Palin from rural Alaska, and her husband, and she, with his snow machine. They're now divorced. Whatever. As people got to know her, Katie Couric, I think, destroyed Sarah Palin's, career. And I never really could understand, why John McCain settled for something, Nicole Wallace. They made that whole movie about it, and about how Nicole Wallace, who was working on John McCain's campaign, she was, one of the top campaign, not organizers, but, what do they call that? A campaign manager. And she couldn't vote for Sarah Palin. She cried because she couldn't vote for John McCain. She worked on his campaign and she couldn't vote for him because of Sarah Palin, because she understood that, John McCain was not a young guy, right? John McCain had cancer. John McCain, was not in the best shape health-wise. And he picked Sarah Palin to be, a heartbeat away from the presidency, and she just couldn't make herself do it. She couldn't vote. So I haven't seen a vice president, since Palin, do so poorly, but he's doing poorly right out of the gate. So Harry Enton, who is a data guy, who just crunches numbers, said, "Oh my God. It's like everybody hates him. Everybody."
Does J.D. Vance help Trump in those states?
Not according to the favorable ratings. His favorable rating is below 30%. His unfavorable rating is up above 40%. That creates a net favorability rating of minus 16 points. Oh. He does worse in his home region at minus 16 points than he does in the average of all polls, which is a minus 5-point net favorability rating. So the people who know him best, the region that knows him best, They like him even less than America likes him. And of course, as you pointed out, again in that kind intro, is he is historically unpopular for a VP nominee coming out of his first convention as the VP.
Yeah. And he's talking about the swing state. Well, he's talking about the polls from J.D. Vance's, turf. He was talking about polls from Indiana, Wisconsin, Michigan, Ohio, and Illinois. And he's got a minus 16% unfavorable rating. I mean, people really don't like him. They know he's a phony. They know he's a fake. They know he's a fraud. They know what he said about Donald Trump. They understand that he's become a shapeshifter in order to get ahead. So when he criticizes people who he says are childless because in his mind, women can't have jobs and children. I don't know what that's a throwback to, because that was never true. But okay. This is what he's, saying, that they don't want children because they're working their way up the ladder, the social ladder. I thought you were supposed to pull yourself up from your bootstraps. I don't know. Apparently, you're supposed to have a couple babies, and squat in the rice field, give birth, and go right back to work in his world. But that's not why people are childless. Some people are childless because they can't afford to have children. That's a thing. 20% of people with no children don't have children because they can't afford them. A whole swath of people don't have children because there's no health care available where they live for prenatal care. And they just don't feel like they could get through it by themselves, okay? A lot of people don't have children because they're terrified of this world, meaning climate change, okay? And they have chosen not to bring children into the world. And a lot of people don't have children because they can't have children. That's right. Infertility is a thing. That's right. Some people need access to IVF. And you know what? That's expensive. Really expensive. Like tens of thousands of dollars a round of IVF, in vitro fertilization, okay? Freezing eggs is expensive. Okay, it's like 10 grand to go through a cycle and then have your eggs extracted and then have them frozen and maintain them in the freezer. You have to pay every month. I don't want to say who, but somebody in my family, well, lots of people in my family, have had to consider all these different fertility methods. In fact, one of them had to freeze his sperm because he had cancer and didn't know if the chemotherapy would affect his sperm, its motility. So he had to freeze his sperm as a younger man so that he could live to have children, but it costs money to do it. What is wrong with them? Why are they so despicable? I mean, you know who was childless? Do you know who was? George Washington. That's right. His wife had slaves instead of children. Yep. I guess he's not fit to lead. By the way, Kamalot is a stepmom to 2 kids, adorable cutie pie kids, as they call themselves. And Buttigieg has adopted children. Does that count? Does it?
All things Randi at RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
People like J.D. Vance know nothing about small-town America. My town had 400 people in it, 24 kids in my graduating class, 12 were cousins, and he gets it all wrong. It's not about hate. It's not about collapsing in. The golden rule there is mind your own damn business. Their policies are what destroyed rural America. They've divided us. They're in our exam rooms. They're telling us what books to read. And I think what Kamala Harris knows is bringing people together around the shared values, strong public schools, strong labor unions that create the middle class, health care that's affordable and accessible. Those are the things. You look what they're talking about. They went right to division. They did not give us a plan on health care. Donald Trump talked about infrastructure. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris built bridges, built roads. So I think this is going back to the bread and butter, getting away from this division. We do not like what has happened where we can't even go to Thanksgiving dinner with our uncle because you end up in some weird fight that is unnecessary. and I think bringing back people together, well, it's true. These guys are just weird. And you know, they're running for He-Man Women Haters Club or something. That's what they go at. That's not what people are interested in. And there is angst because robber barons like J.D. Vance and Donald Trump gutted the Midwest, told us we didn't do that. They talk about private schools. Where in the heck are you going to find a private school in a town of 400? Those are public schools. Those are great teachers that are out there making a difference and gave us an opportunity to succeed. That angst that J.D. Vance talks about in Hillbilly Elegy, none of my hillbilly cousins went to Yale, and none of them went on to be venture capitalists or whatever. It's not who people really are.
He's such a poser, J.D. Vance. That's Tim Walz. He's the governor of Minnesota. I really like him. I really do.
I need more Tim Walz.
Don't you? We all need more
Yes.
Tim Walz in our lives. And, you know, because that girl Julie from Minnesota called us, we know so much more about him than we did before. He was a school teacher, okay? He's a really small town guy from Minnesota, really small town. And the rule of the road is, fences make good neighbors and mind your own damn business. That's the rule that keeps small towns thriving, even though there's lots of different opinions in the small town. Oh, and by the way, JD, so if I don't have a child, why am I paying property taxes to support the public school? See? Because it's the right thing to do for the community. That's why. It's not I got mine, screw you. And this is what the Republican Party is all about. He preaches this whole, garbage, ideology of pull yourself up from your bootstraps and then just, takes a dump on every single person that didn't have any boots. Just he's a bad man, and it's so interesting that the choice of J.D. Vance, okay, it's just so classic Trump. Like he picked the worst guy. You know why he said he picked J.D. Vance? He said he picked J.D. Vance because J.D. Vance liked him. I swear to God, because J.D. Vance likes me. He said that is a quote. He said he chose J.D. Vance because quote he likes me.
You mean the guy who repeatedly said I don't like Trump?
He needs to work on his people skills, and his picker is a little off there. Yeah, it's not just that, he called him, America's Hitler. He said that he was cultural heroin. He said that he was a phony and a bad man, a con artist, etc. I mean, there's a long list. Said he never liked him, never. And now they're running to get, they deserve each other. And you know what's going to happen, right? Trump's going to lose, and he's going to blame it on J.D. Vance.
He may be right.
No, he's not right. The reason why he's going to lose is because he now has somebody that is formidable who can make the case for all the accomplishments of the Biden administration for the Biden administration. Now, Joe Biden, as awesome a governor as he is, I mean, his skill in getting bipartisan legislation through a very difficult Congress in a very difficult time, a polarized time in America, Joe Biden's vision for America, where we built infrastructure. Donald Trump, every day was infrastructure day. Every week was infrastructure week. Now, it's he never did a thing about it. He lied about the wall. He never built a freaking wall. If he built a wall and the wall was going to cure the immigration problem, why didn't it? Oh, because he didn't build it. That's why. And also it wouldn't cure the immigration problem. But I have to tell you, just as a fact, just as a little fact, arrests at the border are at a 3-year low. A 3-year low. 83,000 arrests now. That's it. It's better now than it was under Donald Trump during COVID. During COVID, when he had the pandemic law on his side to shut down the border, he had Title 42 he could invoke. Title 42 allowed for the border to be shut down, meaning it didn't have to be manned. You didn't have anybody taking asylum claims. There was no reason to even try because nobody would hear your asylum claim. There was nobody to surrender to, which is what people do at non-legal ports of entry. It's what they do when they're in between the legal ports of entry and they're sneaking into the country. What they do is they turn themselves into Border Patrol right away. Right away. And they get arrested. Why do they do that? They do that so they can make a claim of asylum. Well, they weren't able to do that during COVID because Title 42, there was nobody to make the claim to. There were no courts, there were no judges, there was no border patrol that they could make a claim to. And that's why the border seemed better then. But we don't have COVID anymore, thank God. And in times of health and well-being, the crossings, the illegal crossings, are down to lower than they were 3 years ago. Because Joe Biden said you can't make a claim of asylum right now unless you do it from your home country. Do it on the app. And it worked. Oh, my God. Now, if we had comprehensive immigration reform, which the most conservative member of the Senate, James Langford from Oklahoma, worked with Kirsten Sinema from Arizona and Chris Murphy from Connecticut, who is a Democrat, the three of them worked on a comprehensive immigration reform package that would accomplish even more. Even more. It would fund more border patrol. It would fund more beds, 50,000 beds, so that people would have to make their claim of asylum from the shelter that we built. And they would not be released into the interior pending a adjudication, which is what catch and release is. And I know a lot of people don't even know what it is. I'm sure Donia doesn't. Thought I'd explain it for her. But guess what? Donald Trump got on the phone and worked his, sycophants in the Senate and said, I don't want you to solve this problem. I want the issue. I like pointing at the border and blaming those people for every bad thing that happens here. That's hate speech, okay? That is truly hate speech. But that's what he does. You know, they're rapists, and some of them are good people, but, most of them aren't. They're murderers, they're rapists, and some of them are good people. So they're trying to pin what they think is chaos at the border on Kamala Harris, saying she's a border czar. She would be a border czarina if we had a position like that, which we don't. She is not in charge of the border. Mayorkas is.
Clear for takeoff. Randi Rhodes. Call in, connect. To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
I wonder if Dania heard this news today. I wonder if she did. Why do I bring up the border?
The Sinaloa Cartel is one of the world's most prolific and violent drug organizations, responsible for shipping thousands of pounds of cocaine, methamphetamine, and fentanyl into the U.S. every single day, making billions in profits. Fentanyl is killing Americans by the tens of thousands each year. But this morning, the Justice Department, DEA, and FBI are celebrating the arrest of two of the most powerful leaders of the Sinaloa Cartel.
Really?
Ishmael Zambada Garcia, known in the drug world as El Mayo, one of the most wanted men on the planet, now in U.S. custody.
Really?
The son of the notorious El Chapo, Joaquin Guzman Lopez, also being brought to justice. Sources telling ABC News the men were arrested and placed in handcuffs by agents of Homeland Security Investigations and the FBI following an operation culminating at an airstrip not far from El Paso. Sources say El Mayo, the co-founder of the Sinaloa Cartel, was lured to what he thought was property in Mexico. It's like something out of a movie.
Yes, it's just like out of a movie. It's an amazing thing when you consider that you like to bitch and moan about, fentanyl, and nobody's doing anything about fentanyl. Well, your Donald Trump didn't do jack crap about fentanyl. He did nothing about it. So it looks like since 2023, we've been arresting, a lot of people. We arrested El Chapo's elder son, Ovidio, in 2023. Nobody really talks about that, but he's in a Supermax prison with his daddy in Colorado and has been since 2023. And then just yesterday, we were able to arrest his other son. Actually, his other son just turned himself in. I guess so his dad could have like a, better commissary. I don't know. More toilet wine. I have no idea. But some El Chapo's son turned himself in and was able to get El Mayo, who is, the guy who runs the Sinaloa cartel, to follow him, thinking he was going to look at property in Mexico. He got on a flight, and they ended up in El Paso, where the DEA was able to arrest them both. Yeah, Biden sucks. Mayorkas, let's impeach his ass. Chris Wray, he's awful. He's the head of the FBI, This was the DEA. This was Mayorkas, Homeland Security. And this was Christopher Wray's FBI that actually coordinated and got these two drug kingpins. This is the largest fentanyl ring in the history of the world. And they were the most wanted drug traffickers. The State Department had offered $15 million for any information leading to the arrest of Mr. Zambada, who, by the way, is 76 years old, okay? He's been running around, selling fentanyl this whole entire time since, Donald Trump was president. And this is huge. This is enormous. So if you wanted to say that Kamala was somehow the border czar, yay her. She's celebrating today, except for one thing. She's not the border czar. She'll be the first one to tell you she's not the border czar. She was sent on a diplomatic mission to find out why so many people were fleeing, specifically countries in Central America, not countries known as Mexico. No. She was exploring and finding out the root causes for the fleeing that was going on from El Salvador, from Guatemala, and from Honduras. That's not Mexico. Now, I know a lot of people in this audience, like Donia, don't know that. So I thought I would explain that these are countries that are part of Central America, where the governments are way corrupt.
I really hope Donia's still watching. She could have learned a lot.
Donia's called us before. I remember her name.
I think about a year ago she did. And she called back. She was very upset with you.
No, I'm sure she was. The truth is very hard for people to hold in their head when they admire a garbage human being known as Donald Trump. When they think that he gives a damn about them, it's very difficult to hold the truth in your head at that point. It will actually crash your brain. It hurts. But it's pretty freaking amazing. It's pretty, awesome. So she had been dispatched to to the Northern Triangle is what it's called, right? And she came back and she said, nobody invests in those countries. There's no private industry in those countries because their governments are so freaking corrupt that Nestle doesn't want to go there, even though there's a huge coffee crop. There's a large agriculture business there to be, had if somebody wanted to invest in it, but you can't because you're not sure you get your money out of these places because they're so corrupt. So finally, she was able to put together a group of private people, private industry, who felt like they could sit down with the presidents of these three corrupt countries and convince them that private investment was good for them, but that they had to guarantee that the business would be run in a transparent manner. And they were able to she was able to bring into these three Central American countries about $5 billion worth of investment. It was $4.2 billion. And what happened was that the immigration from those three countries, Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador, was cut in by 2/3. You see 2/3 less of the migration, the illegal migration, coming from those three countries than you did before she actually organized this deal. Now people are coming from Venezuela, corrupt country, you see. People are coming from Haiti. No government. They killed their own president. The street gangs killed their president in Haiti. I don't think Tonia knows that, so I thought I would tell her. And so that's why people are fleeing. There's no law. There's no order. It's mob rule, and it's dangerous. See. Tonia. Steve in California.
Hello?
Hello.
Yeah, I think it's totally ridiculous that if Trump happens to win the presidency, that he'll be running the country from prison.
Why do you think that?
Well, it's, I mean, that's unprecedented. How a president that gets elected is going to be, I mean, sooner or later he's going to have to serve a prison term, I would think.
Nope.
And that's totally ridiculous that he would be running the country from prison.
Nope, he won't go to prison if he's elected. That's why he's running, so he doesn't go to prison. You understand that?
Oh.
Right.
I thought he was pretty much convicted and he was going to have to go to prison. So he can't run because he is going to go to prison. Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying that he's running to be president so he doesn't go to prison. He will do whatever he has to do if he's president, including self-pardon if that's what's necessary.
That brings up another situation where
it does.
Where he says he's going to pardon, if he does make it he's president, he's going to pardon all these people.
And himself.
Yeah, and himself.
He will never serve from prison. Just, disabuse yourself of that notion, because that will never, ever happen if he wins. If he doesn't win, he will go to prison. And not just for the 34 felonies in New York. No. The trial, the 3 other trials will go on.
Fatality. This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
In this election, we each face a question. What kind of country do we want to live in? There are some people who think we should be a country of chaos, of fear, of hate. But us, we choose something different. We choose freedom. The freedom not just to get by, but get ahead. The freedom to be safe from gun violence. The freedom to make decisions about your own body. We choose a future where no child lives in poverty, where we can all afford health care, where no one is above the law. We believe in the promise of America, and we're ready to fight for it. Because when we fight, we win. So join us. Go to KamalaHarris.com and let's get to work.
I'ma keep on running because the winner don't quit on themselves.
I'ma keep on running because the winner don't quit on themselves. Anyway, sorry, Beyonce. I just ruined Beyonce's song. Brett, can you put me on the screen? Brett, please. Thank you. You know who else is childless? Clarence Thomas doesn't have any kids, does he? I wonder what J.D. Vance thinks about Clarence. I wonder about that. I told you, George Washington didn't have any kids. James Buchanan, he was gay. He was a president of the United States, okay? He was the 15th president of the United States. No kids because he was gay. Very gay. And Andrew Jackson, who I think is Donald Trump's hero, you know, the guy that, did the Indian removal and crap like that. No kids. No kids. Childless. We had a lot of childless presidents. I don't understand why they have to divide everybody by their fertility status now even. Like, do your nads work, or do you have low motility? Got good swimmers? How many do you have? It's just an incredible thing. It's just really an amazing moment. Charles in Missouri. Oh, you're in Missouri too? Where are you?
Yes. Yeah, I live not very far from Butler, where Miss Donia lives.
How do you know her?
I don't know her. I just don't live very far from her.
Well, how do you know that?
Because she lives in Butler and I live in Creighton.
Well, how do you know where she lives?
Because you said so a while ago.
She said so?
Yeah, well, that's what I heard was Butler.
I didn't hear that.
But anyway, that being aside, I just want to know why they call us Biden a liar and Democrats a liar when Republicans do nothing but lie. It's just it's unreal to me that that this state a lot of these people in these rural areas, and I live in kind of a rural area. I live in a small town. We have a population slightly over 300.
Oh, wow.
But
that's tiny.
But, huh?
That's
yeah,
tiny.
it is. It's, yeah, if you sneeze, you'll miss it with your eyes closed.
So, Charles, do you have,
but anyway,
do you have private schools there?
No.
Oh.
We got a public school that serves 3 towns.
So, do you have children in those public schools currently?
No, I don't. I'm retired.
So,
I have a daughter that lives in Osceola, and she got 3 children.
And do you pay property taxes?
Yep.
So why see, this is why J.D. Vance is appealing, okay? Because J.D. Vance actually says that because you don't have children in the school in your little town, even though it supports 3 towns, why are you paying for them to go to school when you don't send kids to school?
Well, because I have real estate tax, and
it's because there is no private school, and it would be, and it serves your community to have those children educated.
Right.
It actually would attract businesses to the area if they understood that they had an educated population that could work in their businesses.
Yeah, that's true. You try getting a job without a high school education.
So anyway, what's your message to Donia?
Well, Donia is confused.
Yeah.
Between truth and lies. What I would suggest for her is to pick, if she claims to be a Christian, I would suggest that she pick up a copy of the Bible and start reading it. She'll find out there's a lot of things in there that has nothing in common with Republican
positions.
Republican way of thinking. They're oh geez. Anyway,
it's okay. I get your point. She does too.
Yeah.
And that's the most important part. So thank you very much, Charles. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and thank you. Love you. Keep doing what you do.
Thank you, sir.
For as long as you can.
Appreciate you. Thank you. Have a good weekend. Enjoy the Olympiad, everybody. I when I asked him where he's from, I meant like, was he from Kansas City, that side of Missouri, or was he from Joplin, that side of Missouri? See, because I know Missouri because I was a truck driver, see, and I used to have to drive through Missouri. It's very pretty.
I love hearing the callers that we get from Arkansas, from Mississippi, from Missouri that are successfully.
There's a lot of people in rural America that dig us,
cult.
deeply, and have for 20 some odd years. Obviously, Charles there, he's familiar. Okay, he knows what we do, and so it's been a privilege to talk to people in small towns and in very rural places, not just the exurbs, not just the suburbs, but in rural America. And like I said, I've lived where J.D. Vance lived. And his disdain for what has happened to those people, he blames them for what Big Pharma did. He blames, they were targeted. Again, I just need to tell you, the reason why Appalachia was targeted by Purdue Pharma and the doctors there to start prescribing for minimal amounts of pain, these massive oxycodone pills, based on a lie that they told that it was less addictive than morphine. It was less addictive than, other pain pills, which was, it was just a lie. What it was those pain pills in a time-released formula. That's what it was. But it was still heroin. It was still an opioid. It was still coming from the poppies that are grown in Afghanistan, by the way. Okay. And they lied, and they got those people addicted. But why did they select those people? Well, it was pretty easy to figure out when you just drill down on, what went on. They picked those people because those people work with their bodies. They don't work in cubicles for the most part. They don't work with their, I don't want to say without, with their brains. I want to say that they don't work in offices, okay? Because it takes a lot of, smarts to work around heavy equipment, okay? So don't get me wrong, because I didn't phrase it correctly. What I mean is the people there work with their physical being. They're on their feet. They're lifting, with the forklifts. They're lifting, packages, and they get backaches, and they get, a tennis elbow, and they get, all kinds of, foot pain and neuropathy, and here's another thing, and I'm not preaching to you because I don't eat great either. Okay, I just don't. But the high fructose corn syrup and the amount of, fast food and processed food that, is in bologna now and in hot dogs and all this stuff. I mean, it makes us fat. It really does. So you have people with, a lot of diabetes and a lot of neuropathy in their feet, and they were in pain. They're in pain. And so they selected this group to inundate them with pain meds so that they could go back to work. And it worked temporarily, and then they all were addicted, and, next thing you know, you got heroin, you got pill mills, and now you got fentanyl. So when you're enjoying the Olympiad tonight, I just want you to remember that the Sinaloa drug cartel, which was huge, this is huge today, a 30-year veteran of the DEA who retired in 2022 and pursued these two guys, said this was huge. This was an enormous get, okay? Now, if we could just do something on the demand side of the fentanyl. Yeah, we did something on the supply side of the fentanyl, Donia. See, supply and demand. But you're going to have to work on the demand side, because as long as there's demand, it's going to keep coming.